Yeah, welcome back to the podcast. What's new with you?
Oh man, I've got a weightlifting meet coming up in 3 weeks.
How we feeling?
Not super strong.
I I thought about doing not like seriously thought about doing a meet, but just like thought about the concept of doing a meet, and then just that's what worries me is like, what happens if you're 2 weeks out and you just don't feel ready?
In my experience, you don't ever feel ready. I don't know. I should say like I've changed up.
That's how I've
I
lived my
train.
entire life.
I've changed up training for basically every meet I've ever done, and the only time I ever felt super ready was the leading up, like my prep phase of my programming was just really, really heavy singles. So like,
Yeah.
it would basically like Monday through Saturday, 6 days a week, start with a heavy single front squat, heavy single snatch, heavy single clean and jerk, and then maybe a heavy set of 3
I mean, it's
back
tough
squats.
when you're like legitimately a CrossFitter, or
Yeah.
you just like,
Dude, I think that like when you look at old strength and conditioning principles like that, kind of developed the Bulgarian systems,
Yeah.
and the Russian, like and all that we know about strength development is we had such low work capacity, classically speaking, as athletes. Not we, but just generally
Yes.
the subjects in the studies.
yeah.
And when you look at it from a CrossFit perspective, we have the inverse problem. We have such high work capacity.
Well,
that
I was gonna say,
our
not even
fatigue
necessarily
levels are just so
specific to being a CrossFitter, but
Yeah.
like what we would say being just a well-rounded athlete,
Yeah.
like somebody that runs, swims, jumps.
Yeah, so it's very,
that
very
stuff.
interesting kind of looking at it from that classic
Yeah.
training perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way going into like the portion of this cycling program before I quit. Before I realized I was going out of the country for 10 days and
Not going to be cycling at all.
had a road bike I've barely ever ridden, and the big one, do not have any padded bike shorts.
Yeah.
Which I found out is crucial because I experienced an extreme amount of taint discomfort while trying to ride the C2 bike. It's just like you feel like too bulky or just the wrong kind of condition to really do this highly specified, dedicated task. And it's like,
and
there's still you can definitely shift your whole like CrossFit experience to like if you're, I say that because it's like you don't want somebody who's a dedicated cyclist to go or a dedicated runner to go, oh, I can't do CrossFit then because I'm too bulky. It's like, well, no, I've trained my entire life to focus on CrossFit, my entire like athletic career for whatever that's worth. So yeah, it's just interesting to like shift your perspective into that very narrow focus and then look through that lens and just you kind of start to think like you question every decision you make in the gym.
Yeah.
You're like, is this going to lead into that one?
Yeah, that's also, I think, the problem with being a coach and a programmer is you're always going to be constantly overlooking every single element. Like, should I have Y instead of X, or zigged or should have zagged?
I mean, at one point, that's why I kind of, for a lot of reasons, but I kind of had to take a step back from programming for a while because I got so into, I'm trying to program for the gym, but I'm also programming for myself. And then it's like I'm programming for these competitive athletes, and I honestly don't know how, like people that write these big programs and they cater to like multiple levels of athletes and games athletes and gyms and stuff, I don't know how they cook up that whole thing because you're always neglecting something or you're overdoing something. Like I got to the point where I was looking at it, I was like, well, we have burpees twice this week. We can't do that. Or maybe we can. Maybe we should. Maybe we should do burpees twice every week. And you just end up down this
rabbit hole.
never-ending rabbit hole of questioning yourself.
Yeah, so for me, I always like going into a meet confident that like I've hit X weight, X days out, and like on my worst day, I know I can hit whatever. So I've taken a different approach this time, and I'm trying to go a little bit more percentage-based, working on speed development and power, and we'll see how it works. November 5th.
Where is it?
Springfield, Missouri.
Oh.
The gym itself is called Springfield Strength and Conditioning.
I gotta be honest, I don't know if I can make that.
I didn't expect anyone to make it. Mara, bless her heart,
November
has agreed
5th?
to count my attempts because like in warming up weightlifting meets, you have to like base it off of like how many lifters are lifting ahead of you, like when are you going to be going out on the platform.
Oh
and
yeah.
you time your warm up so that like you are ready for your first attempt. So I have to teach her or in some way communicate not only how to do kilogram barbell math, but also how to write out scorecards, because you have a 60-second window from the end of your lift until the next barbell's loaded to put in your next attempt. And if you miss it, it's like, this is,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like intricacies in the
Bless her
background.
heart.
And so she's also probably going to be trying to live stream something. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, man.
We'll see how the whole thing goes.
Maybe I don't know. I will have just moved
Yes.
the
Weekend
I guess the
before.
previous weekend, yeah. Moved into a new house without Kelly because she's working that weekend. So
Odd.
that's brilliant. We're moving on Halloween weekend and a weekend where Kelly's working a seminar for CrossFit. So that'll be super great.
Wasn't planned that way, right?
At one point during the planning, it was like, well, this is what's going to happen. And it was just like, well, hey, it is what it is. What are you going to do? It's our first move ever hiring a moving company. So I'm actually pretty excited to like see how that goes.
Yeah. Hopefully it goes better than when we moved the gym.
I don't think moving a gym is ever going to go well. Because there's not like, when you move a house, you hire a moving company, like they know what they're getting into.
Yes.
When you hire, there's no company, as we learned.
To say there is, but
Yeah. As we learned, to our cost, even if a company says they're equipped to move your gym, they're probably not equipped to move your gym. Anyway, welcome back to the Gambit Podcast, the Stratagem Podcast. I'm Andrew Essig. This is Sean Crocker. We are here to talk about two things.
two things.
One of them is max effort Mardi Gras / competition programming,
Yeah.
which I'm sure we could go on for
Indefinitely.
all
really,
day
yeah.
on that. But
I mean,
also
we just went off on a
Yeah.
tangent on programming for the gym.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, we want to talk about modern food a little bit. We've got a
Yeah.
nutrition challenge going on. I really want to do a podcast episode coming up. We're planning one with Scott Brown, our ex-dietitian, which I hope you'll join us for, and talk about like a lot of things, including a Wild Health blood test, blood work, micronutrient update.
Yeah, because
with
you've
myself.
been on it. My partner's been on it now,
Yeah.
so I have a little bit more.
So excited to talk about that and just kind of talk about nutrition. But today we want to talk about like modern nutrition. I guess just kind of like the state of like societal food
Yeah.
and intake. So let's start with Mardi Gras.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a great holiday. Last year I watched an entire gas station shut down to have a rap concert.
I mean, I know, to be full disclosure, I actually know very little about actual Mardi Gras, like what it means, what it's actually, what it's for. But I'm very familiar with St. Louis's interpretation or expression of Mardi Gras.
Yeah, I
should
think,
say. That
yeah.
was one of the things when I moved to the city was like my brother lived in Soulard, and it was kind of like as a, young like 20-something year old, come down here. It's like, hey, once a year they shut down this whole neighborhood and everybody just parties all day. I'm like, how do I move here? That sounds awesome.
And then you live here and it's actually happening outside your house. Like, oh, I don't want to live here anymore.
So it's been really, really great for us. We'll go all the way back to the beginnings of Max Everett Mardi Gras, because Sean, you've experienced one Mardi Gras. So this will be as much for you as it is for both of you that are watching. Or listening. But going all the way back, we opened a gym, we opened Gambit, and it just happened to be we looked all over the city, but it just happened to be the piece of real estate we found was right across the street in Soulard, the warehouse in Soulard. And I legitimately was...
One by Twisted Ranch?
Yeah. We were living in the Central West End at the time, so I looked all over there. Everything was super expensive.
You're ending up back there.
Yeah, we're going back to our roots. Everything was super expensive and just didn't fit our needs. So we find this warehouse, metal warehouse that kind of like, in retrospect, really sticks out like a sore thumb in Soulard, where everything's brick.
Yeah.
I think somewhere in the 1970s, they decided they didn't care what was getting built, and there was no like historical society or Soulard Restoration Group. So they let this thing get built, and they probably regret it every day. And I'm like, oh, perfect, a metal building. It's like, perfect, it's a warehouse about just under 3,000 square feet, perfect size. Move in there, and it's right just off the parade route for Mardi Gras. So, that first year, it was like, well, both out of concern for our new building, just thinking like, maybe it's going to get trashed or somebody's going to break into it or something. I just put everything I have and every favor I could possibly call in and every dollar I could borrow at that time into this building and the equipment and everything. I thought, well, the last thing we want is to somebody like break in there, trash the place or whatever. Hey, if we're going to go down there anyway, let's invite all of our like CrossFit friends down and let's do a little competition. So we ended up doing a one-day competition, and I don't have the original events on my spreadsheet, but I want to say they were, I think it was 2 minutes of double unders. There was a max clean and jerk, which might have been with a fat bar. I don't remember. There was, I think it was a 500-meter row for time, and then possibly max unbroken pull-ups.
Oh, that's gross.
So they were all just like events where like you just walk up and do. They were all like 3 to 4 minute events tops, and like a max pull-ups, like that's less than 60 seconds, and that was kind of by design. We just wanted it to be fast and gross.
Maximal
and
effort.
then Josh Nimmo that owns CrossFit Metro East won that, and we gave him a bag of onions. As was tradition at the time, which we haven't done lately. Tradition has kind of shifted. We've given away some lamps.
It's getting more official. St. Louis's least official competition is getting more official.
Yeah, it's going to be harder and harder to find those lamps, though, at a good price. We got a bunch of free lamps. So the goal has become, let's see how many events. So like in 2022, we had 2 events that had A and B parts. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scores. It's also
crazy.
Yeah, it's also developed into a partner competition from individuals because, as we know, more people just tend to show up and sign up for partner comps.
Fun.
Yeah, it's just
way more fun.
Understandable. So, we crammed that in one day. We'll go. Let's see. 2015, we did 40 thrusters for time.
Ooh.
At 95-65.
We need to bring that back.
We did a 3-rep max power clean. We did a 40 calories for the gentlemen, 30 calories for the ladies for time row. 40/30 cal row for time. 2-minute time cap on that. We had a strongman relay. We had two times through of moving a keg, moving a stone, and then moving doing an axle bar front rack lunge, which was a 1-minute time cap, so that was super fast. And then we had 1 minute of max effort kettlebell snatches, 1 minute of max effort kettlebell swings, and 1 minute of max effort double unders for a 3. That was our like chipper workout, so a 3-minute workout. So technically the 3-rep max power clean was the longest event with the 6-minute clock.
Technically.
But the real longest event was 3 minutes.
Of max work.
And I love that.
Yeah.
We should bring back 40 thrusters for time.
We should bring back 40 thrusters
That's
for time.
gross. I also like that. But yeah, 5 events, that's super cool. I also remember, I think that was the year, I think we had a gentleman named Tyler Higgins working out with us that year, I want to say. And I'm pretty sure he did a 3-rep max power clean in the 300s with like some kind of headdress on, and probably he wore Sperry's a lot, those like boat shoes. And he famously would just lift in those.
No socks, just
just
raw feet.
Yeah, so super short events, and I want to know. Well, so you were here. Oh, I guess we didn't do it in 2021.
No, COVID, right?
So you were here for this year, 2022.
Yeah.
What was your favorite event?
Oh my God. Well, so I didn't actually do the event because I was assistant to the head judge.
Yeah.
Very prestigious title. Very honored.
Which
but
you excelled at.
You and I did all the workouts back to back.
Oh yeah.
So when I look back
it.
at it without even looking at them, all I remember is one really long workout. because we went straight from the first AMRAP into the next one, right into the next one, right.
Do you remember anyone?
I do remember the DT complex being my favorite, but I also really enjoyed the max muscle ups. I do remember very distinctly the 1K row. because it was the first time I had ever rode without my feet in the straps, and I was pulling like 135 or like we went fast.
Yeah.
And we had,
1K row with a partner for
yeah,
time.
and we had like 0 warm up. So I remember those 3 because those
Yeah.
were like
You don't need to warm up for that.
those are like 3 back to back
So
to
for
back.
Yeah, so for everybody watching, I'll just breeze through watching or listening. We had event 1 was a 6-minute AMRAP of 8 toes to bar, 8 burpees to a plate, alternating full rounds with your partner. So
Probably the most famous workout in my house because that was the one that Mara classically could not do a toes to bar on.
oh yeah,
And Madison Kumnick was just no repping the life out of her, just taking all her joy.
savage. Then we had a 5-minute AMRAP of 80 EchoBike calories, 60 for the ladies, and then with remaining time,
that was a good
max single arm devil's press. That was a good one actually. Then we had, and so that was 2 scores.
Yeah.
So time for the calories and reps on the devil's press. Then we had the DT complex, which was 3 deadlifts into 2 hang cleans into 1 shoulder to overhead for max load. Then we had just max reps of muscle ups with kind of directly transitioning out of that lift, which was cool. And then we had the 1K row with a partner. And then we had the one that I remember, which was 120 double unders, 80 thrusters, and 120 double unders. And the non-working athlete has to hang from pull-up bar.
Yeah. Well, we tested that a little differently, didn't we?
I think we changed the weight or something. Like we rode it super light or something.
Yeah.
Then ended up ramping the weight up later.
Yeah, we did change it. I remember, like, we didn't test it that iteration, but we tested something
Yeah.
very similar.
But I remember being like real spicy. I think we started just doing like double unders into thrusters, and then later we made it a sandwich, like a double under sandwich.
I think
There was
that's
like
right.
not enough double unders
Yeah.
or something. Yes, that was good. I mean, obviously you can tell the events have gotten a little more complex over time. But what I wanted to talk about, and it probably would have been, no offense to you, but it would have been cool to have like Kelly or somebody to reminisce about some of our favorite events. Which honestly, my favorite event is probably max pull-ups,
Yeah.
max unbroken, because
We
it's
talked
so
about,
simple.
Yeah, well, when we were talking about this, we talked about doing that. I think ultimately we
We've
decided
done it
not to
twice.
because of the 1K row, just all that stress
Yeah.
on the biceps.
But I love that.
That was like the scale, right? Scale was max pull-ups.
Yes, yeah, for scale division,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I have always loved about Mardi Gras, is that the simplicity, because no other competition really does that, where you can show up and you can still have a pretty well-rounded programming schedule and a test of fitness. Like one year we did max unbroken hang power cleans with a fat bar at like 135 or something. It was just so gnarly, because at the end you're just like clinging for dear life for like one extra
You've got
rep.
like 2 fingers on it.
Yeah, and you're trying to like make sure nobody laps it aggressively. I just remember the guy that won it, I can't remember his last name, Nick something, I think, and he was like I want to say he was like a tradesman of some sort. Like he was a contractor or something. So he just had these big, strong hands, and he just blew everybody out of the water with this thing. I also remember one year we did max unbroken back squats at 185 from the floor in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And Stephen Wallace showed up that year, famously a good squatter.
Sure.
We won't get into all the other
Famously a good
intricacies.
squatter.
Famously, possibly second most famously a good squatter. Secondly most known for. But yeah, he did like 56 back squats in 2 minutes at 185 or something insane. It was just like,
Wow.
but that was a great event. It was devastating.
I'm trying to think if I could do 56
It was just
air
difficult.
squats in 2 minutes.
It was difficult to do. I mean, I'm almost positive it was in the 50s. And I remember it was like significantly more than the next person, whatever it was. And I just remember like when we tested that, it was like, you don't even want to do anything else after
of course
that.
not. Yeah.
And that's what I love about it.
That's,
It's like,
that's
if
really
you really
like,
go for one event.
that's the mark of a good test. And that's like we talk about this all the time with like affiliate programming. It's
Yeah.
like if you do the workout of the day how you're supposed to, you don't need anything else. Like that is effective.
I just want to go back and see here real quick if there's any other highlight events. I know we had one event that was absolutely devastating.
I love the row one, the death by format that you guys did.
Oh, the elimination row?
Yeah, that one. Because we talked about bringing that one back this
Yeah,
year.
so we did that at we used to do an affiliate championship thing.
Oh, gotcha.
For the area. We tried to get all the kind of affiliates to, the landscape I think has changed a little bit in terms of like how gyms kind of relate to each other. Like back in the day, it was all like we were all part of this like secret club and we all wanted to hang out and train together and stuff. And now we're all, I think part of it is like everybody that was my age, we've just gotten older and like a lot of us have had kids and stuff. And it's like, man, we don't compete, businesses to run.
Competitive.
Yeah, we're not as competitive and we don't have time to like put these events on for fun.
Yeah.
But at the time we were like, we just loved it so much.
Sure.
We just wanted to host events and we didn't care if it made money or not. And now it's like, well, unfortunately I got bills to pay and
exactly.
kids to feed. But we did, at the affiliate championship one year, we notorious amongst us at least, did a 3-round, I think 500-meter row elimination. Mm-hmm. So let's say there was 30 teams. It was like the top 10 got bought out of they were out, and that was they were scored 1 through 10.
Yeah.
Then the remaining 20 teams had to row another 500, and then the top 10 bought out again, and they got scores 11 through 20, and then if you were the slowest, you had to do it a third time, and it decimated people. Like I think people are still recovering from that workout that was 7 years ago or whatever it was, and it like I think people cried. You could tell who'd been rowing and who hadn't been, and who knew what their strong row time was. Like some people were like definitely targeting, well, we're gonna try and target that middle group. And then we had other people that just went out. We had people that went out ham and sold it on the first one and didn't make the cut. And there was nothing in the tank for the second one, and so they had to do all three, and they were just like devastated on all three. And that's where it's really gonna get you.
That's the game you play.
That's the game you play, and that's why it's a beautiful event. I would love to do that again. Max. One year we did max time with a weighted plank with a plate on your butt.
That's gross.
Because if you ever seen anybody do a weighted plank, if they put the plate on their shoulders, get out of here. Miss me with that.
Sag.
What are you doing? Well, and it's like on top of your support, like you're supporting with your forearms. Right. So you just put more weight on top of your forearms, like you're stacked. There's no actual weight. Benefit. When you put it on your butt, your whole body wants to sag. I'm pretty sure we had feet on a plate. So your toes are on a 45-pound plate. You're planking, so you can really start to sag.
Yeah.
And you can see it. That hurt. That hurt people. But the first event, so we came out swinging that year. This was 2017. 15, 12, 9 bike cows and sumo deadlift high pulls, and we had assault bikes at that time, not echo bikes. So the calories rattle off a little faster. You really had to get on. And I think the top time was like 90 seconds or something. Ridiculous. Because it was just at 15, 12, 9, 95-pound sumo deadlift high pull, like obviously it's going to be unbroken. And then it's a question, you're pressing it back down to the floor. Yeah. And then the bike cows, you just get on. It's like you're on the assault bike, you're rewarded for really going hard on it. So yeah, it was just an all-out. We had a 3-minute cap.
Did you guys have any bikes break on that event?
No, but we had a guy, the guy that had like the top time. I think he was on the floor for like 45 minutes afterwards. Like just absolutely wrecked him.
We just need to bring that back for class one soon.
Yeah, but nobody's gonna go that hard. We did do one in class. I forget what it was, but Kelly programmed something, and it was like 50 calories or some amount of calories, and she said, she put in the notes, if you can finish the calories in less than a minute.
I wasn't here for that.
You don't have to do the rest of the workout.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was so confused because I missed that note. And I'm like, man, people are just dying on this bike. What is happening? And then it's like, oh man, he went for it and didn't make it. And I'm like, what is going on? And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, I'm not even going to try that.
No.
I know I can't.
Because like one person made it. Wasn't Tim? Wasn't Tim the only one that got 50 calories?
Well, and I think I think maybe like Isaac Zayek and like Joe Carroll was still coming to the gym. I think he went for it. I don't remember if he made it or not. But yeah, like 2 or 3 guys ended up making it. But yeah, Tim Hoffmeyer definitely made it. He was
and to this day, he will not go for 50 calories per time again. I've tried because like Rogue came out with a challenge right before him and Jen moved, and I was like, dude, you should enter. Like, it would be fun.
Bad.
He's like, no, I'm good. Like, okay, fair.
I did when Kelly was out of Boston. We went up to the regional there one year, and I'm walking around and I'm coaching, so I'm just wearing like jeans and a t-shirt, and somebody you could win a assault bike. And it was they had a thing, max calories in 60 seconds. And I'm like, I'm relatively good at that stuff. I was still training quite a bit at the time. I was like, I'll go for it. You know, what the heck? You could win I looked at some of the scores and I was like, yeah, all right, well, check it out. I think the top score was like might have been in the 50s or like mid to high 40s. And I was like, okay, that's achievable.
Yeah.
No warm up, just hopped on and absolutely sent it. And it's just one of those things like, I was on pace. I had 38 calories, I think, before 30 seconds, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna smash this!" And then it took me the entire next 30 seconds to get 10 more calories, and I've never felt so bad in my life.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I had a headache.
It's really bad.
I was bad. Like, you gotta warm up and cool down for that shit. I would never do that again. I remember legitimately 45 minutes later, I'm still just sitting on a chair, holding my head, and just trying to get myself back to normal. It was just devastating.
Especially
and that's
that
what
long.
that 15-12-9 bike cows Summa de la Fight Bowl. We should do that after we finish this podcast.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. The way the economy's set up.
3 rep max bench into 1 minute of max pull-ups.
That's a good test.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked that one. Yeah. So some good stuff there.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
2016, 2 rep max thruster from the floor on a fat bar. I loved that. Because then it's like, how much can you clean?
Oh, 1 rep max box jump.
Yeah. Oh, we did. We did a box jump, and then one year we did a PVC hop.
Oh,
we had an ascending ladder, and every 30 seconds we did a rotation. You tried to clear higher and higher PVC pipes. That was pretty fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a few people clear the ladder, but it was good.
Yeah, less potential for injury and broken shins.
Yeah. I remember I looked like an absolute baller because I'd seen it happen. I'd seen people hop PVC pipes enough to know that when you miss, a lot of times you kick the PVC pipe and it flies off. Mm-hmm. So I'm just watching, and I happen to be standing somewhere, and I think Mike Kraft, oddly enough, was doing it and kicked the PVC pipe. And I'm in a crowd of people. I just reached up and grabbed the PVC pipe out of the air, and people were like, "Oh my God, that was so sick!" And I'm like, I've just seen it happen so many times that you're just ready for it. But
yeah.
You look like you were just
like a badass.
That fast, yeah. So in the comments or wherever, let us know what you want to see in Max Everett Mardi Gras 2023.
It's coming up fast.
What do you want to see in Max Everett Mardi Gras 2023, Sean?
Oh man, I personally, I love the.
That's what I'm asking.
I love the 2 rep thruster with a fat bar.
I love that too. Yeah, I'd like to see that come back.
I think we need a sumo dead high pull workout though. It's been too long.
We got one
with a fat bar.
Relay style. Oh, we should we'll just fat bar the whole thing up. Let's fat bar it up.
No normal bars. The whole competition. Yeah, I mean that's
I love that.
Fast.
We can rewrite the. We should do like 15, 12, 9 or like whatever 18. Come up with a ref scheme on it, and then have the other partner has to run it back. So one partner, like pyramid style. So one goes 9, 15, 21. The other one goes 21, 15, 9. Relay style.
Yeah.
That would devastate.
Oh yeah.
And you have to run after you do your part. You have to run across the gym to tag your partner in because they're gonna hurt. They're gonna be hurting so bad, and we make them run.
Make them sprint on the bike to finish and make them run.
Yeah. Love that.
So they're just all deer-legged.
Yeah. So let us know what you guys want to see if you're following along.
Yeah.
Moving along, totally. There's no segue for this, but as you're preparing for Max Effort Mardi Gras 2023,
unlike the food you're going to eat during Mardi Gras,
let's
talk about.
I don't want to dig too deep into it because it's obviously a topic that can go on forever. But the thing that kind of like stuck in my mind and the concept is, what I tell people is like at some point in my life, I trained my brain to think that certain food was not food. Like just because McDonald's sells it,
Yeah.
or that it's on a shelf in a Quick Trip, doesn't mean it's food.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just have it like in their head that, in a way, oh, society takes care of me, and like the machine of capitalism kind of, it's this warm blanket of like, oh, if it's sold and the FDA's out there checking everything, and
It's
it's like,
all
man, the
safe to go.
FDA's
Yeah.
doing the bare minimum of making sure this is edible.
Yeah, like this literally will not kill you right now.
Yeah. This won't kill you This won't kill you today.
Yeah. Which they do a great job at.
Yeah.
Most of the things you can buy are not going to kill you today.
Yeah, not to necessarily knock on the FDA. I'm just saying it's not it's a relatively low bar sometimes.
Yeah.
In terms of like the quality of meats and stuff.
You're looking at it as the
grocery
wrong
store, it's
kind
a
of
totally
safety
different story.
blanket.
Yeah. So like if I see anybody walk out of a Quick Trip and unwrap one of those sandwiches,
Don't get me
that
wrong.
to me,
I get down on a Quick Trip hot dog every
Do you?
now and again. Yeah.
that
Big
to
hot
me
dog
just
guy.
doesn't look like food. My brain just goes,
Eat
no,
it for-
man.
Like I eat it the same way that people.
Eat ice cream or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's
a
fair.
treat.
So I saw, and I guess what got me thinking about this too is I just watched a little like Bill Burr stand-up clip
Yeah.
where he was talking about, he's like,
The day after you watched that, actually, Kelly and I had that exact same conversation. She's like, I swear to God, this is super weird, but we were just watching this clip last night. Or maybe it was even that morning.
yeah, it just popped up in my YouTube feed and I showed it to her because I was like, yeah, cause I really related. I'm like, this is how I feel. Cause he brought up a good point. He's like, the thing is, he's like, I lost respect for McDonald's because they let, in his words, he said they let fat people tell them what to do. And like and that's the whole thing with being a comedian. Like you can be vulgar and slightly offensive and still have a really good point.
Yeah.
And he's like, as soon as McDonald's started selling salads, it was over.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm like, the point he was trying to make is like, when you go to McDonald's, it's not good for you. Like no one has ever said this is good for you, but I think that's not necessarily true. I mean, I don't think anyone thinks like, oh, this is good for me, like it's not healthy food, but I think a lot of people think it's okay. Like they don't have any idea how bad it is
No. I mean, like,
on a lot of levels.
to that point, like, you literally, we watched someone eat McDonald's every single day for a year, and we saw what happened to them.
Right, but how many people in this country do you think actually watch that video or that movie?
Less than should.
Right. I would wager like probably less than 50%. And the people that really needed to see it didn't see it.
Right.
It's like, you didn't need to tell me not to eat McDonald's.
This also cuts into one of the very first CrossFit Journal articles that I believe was called Fast Food. I'll have to double check that. I think it was the fourth article that Greg Glassman ever put out on the CrossFit Journal. And in it, he's just kind of talking, and he's going through like his nutrition discussion, right? And one of the interesting kind of anecdotes he brings up is everyone always looks at fast food like it's cheaper, it's faster. If you're in a rush or if you're in a hurry, this is your option, right? Like if you're, late to picking up your kid from daycare, or you've got the kids, you got to get home because they have soccer practice, whatever that situation looks like, or God forbid, you're working two jobs and you need to get from one to the other. It's like your fastest and most inexpensive choice is fast food.
Yeah.
And so in the article, Glassman kind of brings up two different scenarios, and if I'll have to reread it to be sure on this one, but I believe he actually did the test and timed out how long it took to go through the drive-through, get like a meal, like cheeseburger, fries, and a soft drink, and the time it took for him to park in a grocery store, walk in, grab the things, and get out and into the car.
Yeah.
And the time it took to get into the supermarket was 4 to 5 minutes less than it took to get him through the drive-through. The cost was
depending on the drive-through and the day.
right.
Sure.
The cost was like $2 to $3 less at the supermarket.
Yeah.
And like the the example that he proposed was you could go to a McDonald's, and knowing Greg Glassman, if I'm not mistaken, he actually just called them out and just said McDonald's.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's like, you can get a double cheeseburger, you can get fries and a soda for X amount of money. And this was 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
So like the amount of money was like $4. He's like, or you could go, or you could go to the supermarket, get a half pound of like deli meat, get 2 apples, and he also brought in like maybe some carrots or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, and that's $3.50 or whatever whatever the amount was. So it's like, fast food isn't fast food. Like, you get it fast, but that doesn't mean you get it faster than something that's
where when I have the nutrition discussion with a lot of people, they'll use the phrase "good food."
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, let's pump the brakes. What does good food mean to you? And 9 times out of 10, it's it tastes good. And that's
so I actually have a kind of a different perspective and experience with that, because I have just walked through, like, I've done a lot of nutrition intakes and consults.
Yeah, way more than I have.
And like my first question is, hey, how is your diet? Because I just want to hear like, how do you think your diet is? And 9 times out of 10, people say I eat pretty good.
Yeah.
I know at this point, like, even though I still start the discussion with that question, I know that answer is going to be wrong.
If we're leaving the gym on a Saturday and I'm having a discussion with a few individuals that I have in mind but won't name, and the conversation is like, well, let's go such and such, and I'll go, I mean, that's not really good. That's not good food. When I say good food, I'm thinking like, can I get just eggs, bacon, possibly maybe like a gluten-free bread or pancake or something. Like, it's a Saturday brunch, don't get me wrong, but I'm not trying to like blow it off the rails necessarily. I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? Such and such is that's good. I'm like, what's tastes good?
Yeah.
And I think that's when you come back to like the quick trip McDonald's thing, it's like, it tastes good a lot of times, and I don't think McDonald's tastes good, but there's stuff in there that you get
to make it more palatable.
Yeah, and to get you like hooked on it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I think. There's like sugar in things that there doesn't need to be sugar in, like the bread has sugar in it and stuff, and sugar is an addictive substance.
Sure.
And I just use Quick Trip as an example, and I don't generally think Quick Trip is that bad unless you're going for like roller taquitos and roller hot dogs. Like I know they have like fruit and some good options in there. I'm not trying to like vilify them as a company, and I'm not trying to vilify McDonald's honestly either, because like Bill Burr said in stand up, like he's like, they're a business. Yeah. If you're going to come in and buy it, they're going to sell it. And if it's illegal to sell it, that's just the way things work.
Yeah.
It's like, that's absolutely true. But people ask me like, when was the last time you had fast food? I'm like, it's been so long, because I just programmed my brain to think that that's not edible food. And so there's certain parts of the food market, like it doesn't matter how many times the FDA says it's okay, or they release nutrition information on it or whatever. It's just like, that's not food for me.
You even cut back to like, there's
Queso Club.
There's even a level of like corruption to it, because we look back at the old FDA food pyramid.
Oh yeah,
like it was outright just admitted that that was kind of padded towards.
They were trying to protect the farming industry, and the farming industry had been lobbying or whatever. It was like, if you tell people they can't eat or they should eat less grains, that's going to ruin a bunch of people's livelihoods, and that's fair, but it's also not right at the same time. It's a tough spot.
It's a tough gig.
But if you're still relying on the food, it's like, but by now, surely if you're going to release a food pyramid, update the thing.
Yeah.
But I always tell people too, like, nutrition is kind of constantly evolving in a lot of ways, because some new diet comes out, and CrossFit themselves have
evolved with nutrition.
But also like promoted and shared articles about a ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting, which isn't necessarily the best way for a lot of people to go.
No.
But
it could be.
Talking to Scott, he's not a big keto.
For someone to be.
Yeah, he's not a big keto fan. But like, they're also not saying like, hey, everybody needs to go keto right now. They're just saying like, hey, this new study came out to show that like shifting to a ketogenic diet can help fight certain types of disease or
I would be interested to take the CrossFit nutrition course just to see kind of what that encompasses, because that's kind of the one thing.
Yeah, Joel just did it.
Did he?
Yeah.
That is the one thing that I've just kind of not looked towards CrossFit for.
Well, CrossFit has kind of
what their push
dipped
is, I
their
guess.
toe in a few things
Yeah.
and then pulled back out,
Yeah.
nutrition being one of them. And that's what got me on the Wild Health thing was CrossFit was partnering with them. It was supposed to be like CrossFit Health or whatever, and they were pushing out this big discount code. And I was like, yeah, I mean, this is perfect. It just kind of lined up with what I was trying to do, signed up for it, and then apparently they kind of split
ties.
ways. Yeah, so I know CrossFit or like Wild Health partnered with Thorne, the supplement provider, who has they sponsored the games and everything. So I think there was they were trying to get like all those CrossFit MDs on board and get this whole thing. And I don't know why specifically. Kelly seemed to have some idea of why it might happen, but didn't know for sure. So like, yeah, it's kind of one of those false start things. Like, and they've got like a nutrition course online, but I think Joel did it in one day.
Yeah.
And it's not super comprehensive.
entry level.
They were also supposed to be partnering with Precision Nutrition, I heard, because again, I think I heard that from the Precision Nutrition side. Like they came out and said, hey, we're the exclusive
Yeah.
whatever for CrossFit.
CrossFit did say that. It was very short
Did they?
though.
Yeah.
Very, very short.
And that kind of just got swept under the rug too. So I don't know. And to be fair to CrossFit, they have had a lot going on the last couple of years. So I think there's somebody new in charge stepping in every 6 months and saying, you know what, we're going to terminate this partnership. Or maybe it's on the other side. I don't know. But point being, like, I haven't looked to them for that, kind of for that reason.
Like, nutrition is also just one of those things that people are just so adamant about and so divisive on. It kind of makes sense to not have like this solid like.
Well, I wanted
Precision Nutrition is great, but they're very kind of singularly focused in how they teach and progress through nutrition.
And I want to dig into that more when we sit down with Scott. I want to dig into some of that a little more because it all comes back to the reason I signed up with Wild Health was to get that blood work.
Yeah.
And it's like, none of this shit matters if you don't know what's going on in your body. Like, if I just come up to you like, Sean, you got to try keto. And you're like, oh, sure, let me try it. Or a Liver King diet or whatever. It's like, that might be the worst thing you could possibly do for your body. And you have no idea because you don't know what's going on inside your body. And I think
and
that's...
the other thing is a lot of people just aren't super in tune with how they feel.
That
like,
too.
You know.
Because they're putting McDonald's and Quick Trip roller dogs in their bodies.
Or like,
the
I think one
baseline
of
is
the
not
funniest kind of anecdotes I ever heard and really kind of brought to light kind of how people generally feel is like, I remember being involved with someone who was drinking every single day. And like, they'd wake up, they're like, no, I feel fine. I'm like, dude, I don't get it. Like, I drink one night and feel like crap for 4 days. And then someone kind of pulled me aside. They're like, but look, that's how they feel every day. Like, that's just normal.
Yeah.
And that kind of really, like, that one sentence kind of really brought to light. It's like, oh, people are just used to feeling bad every day.
And the human body is an amazing machine, and it can compensate, it can make internal adjustments, and it can fuel itself off of a lot of different things. And that kind of comes back to my original point is like, people get used to eating all this stuff because, you can eat sugar and drink Kool-Aid and, burgers at McDonald's all the time and exist and fuel yourself off of it and probably feel okay for most of your life. And then you're going to hit 55 and have a heart attack or a stroke or whatever. And you'll be like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
I eat pretty good. But the thing, like you mentioned, that reminds me of like a thing. I think Rob Wolf said it when I was like really reading up on paleo and that kind of stuff.
There's another nutrition guy.
Yeah.
They kind of got kicked out.
Well, and he kind of dropped the whole paleo thing, and he's all in on keto now. Which, whatever, that's a whole nother conversation. But one of the things he said was like the thing with like gluten sensitivity and grains and all that kind of stuff is like if you put somebody made, and this might have been CrossFit that made this analogy, but it was like if you put a frog or a lizard in I think it was a frog. You put a frog in an aquarium, a heated aquarium, and every day you walk by the aquarium, turn the heater up by 1 degree. It's like the frog's not going to notice.
Yeah.
And it's not going to notice till it's boiling alive in this aquarium. And that's kind of how nutrition works. It's like you don't really, and alcoholism also, it's like you don't know until it's too late.
Yeah.
Like when it really hits the fan. Because things just happen. In the same way that when you make positive changes in your diet, it takes them a while to
Yeah, I think that's the other hard part of nutrition is
the
you can
toughest
eat
part.
great for a week and don't feel like it makes any difference.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Those-
like it is.
Those big negative health side effects also take a long time to really hit. And it's like what people don't realize, it's the same thing in the gym too. I always tell people with like movement, like you've spent 30 years creating this tension position, this like arched back or whatever it is, shoulders rolled forward. Like 1 or 2 or even a week of consistent mobility and stretching isn't going to fix that problem. You might start to see some results, but it's not going to fix. And when you hit your
mobility is one of the best examples.
And when you hit your 40s, 50s, 60s, and you start having health issues, and all of a sudden you're trying to figure out what's going on, it's like, man, you've spent 30 years creating this problem, and I'm sorry to say, there's no pill or quick fix that's going to
fix it in
solve it.
15 hours.
I mean, yeah, there are things that are going to help, and yes, there are some fixes, but the reality is like, if you're going in and putting stents in your heart and that kind of shit, the reality is that's kind of a Band-Aid on a problem that you've already created, and a lot of people have no clue. I have relatives that have gone through this. They've had to go in and get stents or whatever, and it's like, how much could something like Wild Health have helped that person way before that? Because they do eat healthy. This is a person who eats, yogurt and chicken and rice and works out every day, and like actually what we would consider a fairly healthy modern diet. Lean meats, vegetables, little starch, no sugar, but yet still has these heart complications. It's like, well, did you get like a real like what, I don't know what your doctor's doing for you, but generally they're going to check your cholesterol markers or whatever, and they're going to say, hey, you need to eat less whatever and lower your cholesterol. It's like, man, that's such a tiny sliver of what's going on.
Yeah. I mean,
so
doctors don't do a ton with nutrition either.
What food, so you had admitted you'll have a quick trip roller dog.
Yeah.
Once in a while. What is a food that to you is just not food?
Not food.
Like what's something that people consume that you just like, not like you wouldn't eat? Is there anything that you?
I won't eat octopus.
But that's kind of
that's because
taste.
they're too smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to eat something that's
But
too smart.
is there something that people eat that you're like, no one should eat that, and I'm not going to eat that?
I mean, there's things that I would like say like outright, like that's probably not gonna. So I always look at food as like everything's on a spectrum, right? Like. Sure. I wouldn't tell Matt Frazier that he shouldn't eat a Snickers bar after an event.
Yeah.
But I will say most, like 9 out of 10 people, if not more than that, I will say, hey, Snickers not gonna do anything for you.
Yeah.
Ever.
Nothing. It's not gonna do anything positive.
Yeah. So I'm not. Yeah. I'm not the person that removes or looks at food.
But even for Matt, would you argue that that's a positive thing to put into his body, even in a certain state?
In a certain state, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's calorically dense, it has a certain amount of like the sugars that he needs to kind of refill his glycogen. He's got another event coming up.
Corn syrup, probably.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I'm not gonna argue the validity of high fructose corn syrup, but in that certain circumstance, yes, it's going to be helpful.
But there's probably something else you could make with the similar ingredients that would not be so detrimental.
Sure. Psychologically, it might, but again, I don't know Matt Frazier. I'm not going to pretend to know him. So I would say, generally speaking, any candy, whether it's chocolate or Skittles or any of that stuff, like we probably don't. I'm
curious what's in a Snickers now.
For me, I would say soda's top of the list there.
Yeah.
I mean, it is sugar syrup and carbonated water. I'm a huge fan of carbonated water. Same. But I'll go. I mean, you've got a Zevia right there. It's like I'll go Zevia. I'll get a LaCroix. I'll get just a straight up carbon, like
milk,
fizzy water.
Milk chocolate, sugar, cocoa, butter, chocolate, lactose, skim milk, milk fat, soy lecithin, artificial flavor, peanuts, corn syrup, sugar, skim milk again, butter, milk fat again, butter again, partially hydrogenated soybean oil, lactose, salt, egg whites, artificial flavor. So that to me that's something that I'm just like, not to say, like you said, it's not like I'm never going to eat a Snickers bar ever again. They're freaking delicious.
They're my favorite.
Cocaine is delicious. Like that's always my thing. Like not that I'm like a recovering cocaine addict or anything, but it's like that's what my friend John always used to say. Like I don't like cocaine. I just like the way it smells. But it's like that's everybody knows Coca-Cola used to have actual cocaine in it, and people loved it. It's like, I wonder why. Well, now you replace it with sugar, and it's not that much different.
No.
And high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, so I would say like candy and
really
soda.
Any type of corn syrup. And to me, soy lecithin is a big flag. That's not something a lot of people are aware of, but my body responds really negatively to soy and soy lecithin specifically, so I avoid that. So to me, I'm just like, there are things in here that I just should not put in my body in any scenario.
Sure.
And to me, that's just kind of like, it's not food.
Yeah, and I would say 99% of people don't.
But
should
in
never eat
society,
can.
when you start to look at between that and alcohol, it's crazy how many different places society tries to shove those two things down your throat.
Yeah,
In
especially
every-
being in St. Louis, like.
Yeah, in every checkout aisle at every grocery store or any store,
yeah.
they're like, here's candy.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
I mean, I usually shop at Schnucks because it's right up the street from me, and the entire checkout line is just a row of candy.
Yeah, candy, candy, candy. And it's crazy how, I guess that was my point of kind of the whole topic, because I wanted to make was like, society, if you can start to shift your focus a little bit to realize that like, it's not okay
Yeah.
to just be on a normal day like a Wednesday, you're just like, oh man, I'm kind of hungry, I want a little pick-me-up, I'm going to grab a thing of peanut butter cups or whatever from this checkout aisle.
I would say, so if we rephrase the question for me to like, what foods do I think most 90+% of people should never engage in?
Yeah.
I would say candy, I would say soda, I would say pretty much anything that you're going to pick up out of a window.
Yeah.
And I don't think there might
Yeah.
be one exception.
So
to
I
the
was trying to
window
think
rule.
of mine too, but I think soda's honestly the one where it's just like, I've had people ask about Zevia or try Zevia and say like, oh, it doesn't taste like cola, it doesn't do it for me. I'm like, it doesn't matter.
No.
To me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because I will never drink a cola again.
Well, you also like I think that person
unless
also
it's a
needs to
special
understand why
circumstance.
they're drinking the cola.
Yeah.
Like, what is it about the cola
Exactly.
that you need that this does not offer?
Yeah, and I just look at it like, when somebody offers it to me, it's somewhere like, it's just like, I don't,
So actually, interesting. I had my first
doesn't
soda
register.
in probably, oh my God, I'm going to say the better part of 10 years the other day. And it was horrible.
yeah, I don't remember the last time I had soda, but I remember it not being good. I remember thinking like,
It
Coke
was
and Pepsi were so good.
obnoxiously sweet.
yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing when you detox from some of that stuff,
Yeah.
you don't realize. I can't remember I can't remember the specific circumstance. I remember going back to a food that I used to eat pretty regularly and just being like,
Yeah.
just totally
Yeah.
plowed over by how sweet it was and just gross.
Pizza Hut was that for me, actually.
Really?
I used to love pizza. I mean, I still love pizza.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
like I used to love like Pizza Hut, Domino's. Now, if I have one from there, it's just you're just bombarded with sugar, and that's not a place you should be bombarded with sugar.
No.
Like, it's pizza. It's supposed to be a savory food.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I think at some point down the line, we as a society have to start treating sugar like tobacco or alcohol or
Yeah.
anything else and regulate it. Like certain types of foods should not be allowed to contain
Yeah.
this amount of sugar. Like, not to say like you have to be a certain age or anything, but it's just like it's in a lot of stuff. But like somebody needs to step in and say, hey, per serving or per X number of calories, this is your limit on sugar, because it's totally and completely legal to sneak it into things,
Yeah.
and it's
That
highly
shouldn't be.
addictive. And we figured out ways like corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup. We have figured out ways to like engineer even more intense forms of sugar. That's like injecting heroin into your eyeball or something. It's like,
Yeah, and the reality is like we have Zevia, or stevia rather.
yeah.
It's like that's hyper concentrated sweetness. Like
Yeah.
if you've ever taken too much.
Yeah, but time and time again,
Stevia.
people try those things and it's not good enough.
Yeah, and I think that just is going to come down to like you have to like it's the same thing as the first time you started a workout routine. Imagine the first time you just started CrossFit as a shy,
You just have to
unathletic
reset.
person,
Yeah.
because I've been there, right? Like,
And I think that's part of the whole health and fitness, like we'll wrap it up here in the next minute or so, but like in terms of the whole like health and fitness journey, like I tell people, since I was probably 15 or 16, I was taking protein shakes
Yeah.
and like, mixing drinks that weren't necessarily the most delicious things, but you wanted this goal so bad that it didn't matter.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, if I put this scoop of something in this shaker and shake it up, that's going to get me the results that I want, and I'm just going to do it. And so somewhere along the line, it just became like, yeah, when you're trying to shift your nutritional goals and your day-to-day consumption of things, like you just have to prioritize that. So when somebody says like, oh, I hate this Zevia soda because it doesn't taste like soda, it's like, doesn't matter to me because the end goal of me living this healthier lifestyle
Yeah.
just means like soda's just off the table.
Well, and eventually
it's just
you
not
just
a thing.
recondition your brain to accept like this is
Yeah.
soda.
And I'm with you. Like this tastes better than
Yeah.
most of the other stuff. You can kind of train your body to like anything
Yeah.
to an extent.
To an extent.
To an extent.
To an extent.
So that's our topic. Anything else you want to add?
No, I feel like we could talk about this all day.
As ever.
But yeah, we'll have
We
Scott
could.
on, so
Yeah. Look forward to that.
Juicy nuggets for him.
Yeah, we'll have a much more in-depth conversation, single topic podcast, I expect. Yeah, let us know your thoughts on that topic and if there's anything you'd like to see us discuss with Scott, the RX dietitian.
Yeah.
I'm Ed Ressick. This is Sean Crocker. Thank you for joining us as always.
Peace out,
See you next time.
Girl Scouts.